Dimp Digital Presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from Dimp Digital and welcome to Idle Game Chat. I'm joined by the former Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz Champion. It's Pacman himself, Tom Adcock, and the reigning Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz Champion, Tom Adkins, not Adcock. Gents, how we doing?
Well, I'm doing fantastic now. You introduced us with that.
Well, it's true. It's a factual statement that you're the reigning quiz champion and Pacman Adcock's the former quiz champion. So you're doing well. Adcock, I suppose you're not too pleased with that intro, although it is factually correct.
Some big comebacks this year, mate. Tyson's sort of dusting off the gloves, so
mate, you were just like Andy Ruiz, had your like one shock win and then just fucking trampled on.
You said that twice now. That better not stick. That's annoying. Wow, Ruiz.
Absolutely. Well, this is a huge show because we're actually going to run through our top 6 games of the decade for 2010 through 2019, and then we are going to crown just one winner. Now, this was an extremely tough process on many people. Just coming up with the nominees was difficult, but I mean, crowning a winner almost seemed like a silly thing to be doing because it was almost impossible. But we did get there, and I think we've got a list that is a good list that represents a fair representation of Dimp Digital. And to be honest, on any given day, I feel like any of them could have won it. But for the sake of there being a winner, because we like to crown winners here, we've gone through that process anyway. Before we get into the meat of the show, I wanted to let anyone that's listening know that if you are enjoying Idle Game Chat, first of all, tell everyone that likes video games, tell all your mates that we're available on any podcast app and YouTube, completely free. And then if you do want to support the show, either tip us or earn some cool perks, and you can head over to patreon.com/idle game chat, where you have the opportunity to become one of our very special patrons. If you don't want to, or you can't afford to, no bother. We thank you for giving up your time to listen to us today anyway. But let's kick things off now. It's all the formalities out the way, all the business side out the way. We're going to run through each of the candidates in date order. So the oldest will start first, celebrating the reasons why they are on this special 6, or the big 6. As I mentioned, there's 6 here, Adcock. Are you pleased in general with the list of 6? I mean, I just spent a couple of moments there bigging it up, but as you're on this panel to discuss the games, are you pleased with the 6 that we've ended up with?
Yeah, I've played 5 of the 6 and can confirm that they are all absolute bangers. Yeah, I think I agree with what you said. Like it represents a good cut through of what we all play here, and then generally what was massive in the decade for the public. So as you said as well, like any one of them on their day, you know, when we done the back and forth on this, it was a fucking nightmare because at one point I think every one of them bar like one was probably at the very top, and the ones that probably end up winning was at the bottom for a while. So it's really hard. It's not easy, but I think as we go through them, you'll see that they are all, you know, certified AAA classic games, and you can't have any complaints.
No, absolutely. Adkins, what did you find tougher? Coming up with the 6, so potentially culling dozens and dozens and dozens of games, or choosing the winner out of the final 6 that we'd come up with, because both were very taxing on some people's minds, like Biff and Hall.
Yeah, it was. I'd probably go with culling was difficult.
Yeah.
Pitting 2 heavyweights together when you know they're both equally impassable games, and then you go, right, well, we got to bin one just because they're slightly similar, but it is good to have that variety we've got where you ain't just a list of fucking open world games or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did find that tough, but it's hard. It's hard, especially for me being selfish, to get my views out. When somebody else goes, right, I want to put this game in, and I'll just go, no, that's not in mine.
It's not in mine, so it's not in the final list.
It's not in the final 6. But yeah, you know, the group chat that we made helped me broaden my horizons, and like I say, much like Adcock, I think I've played all of the games, but one of them not so much that we'll discuss. So it's definitely there. I sort of let the other people bring their shit to the table rather than sticking my beak in.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have got to take a back seat on things, but I think that, like I said, we go for the list, people won't. Hopefully, well, they can say what they fucking want. I don't care. The list is our 6, and we've picked one winner, and that's the end of it. But we're going to kick things off. November 2011. Bit of controversy on whether this actually qualified, because there was a public alpha of the game which started in 2009. Now, I always personally sway towards when the official release is. And this goes back to when Fortnite was in early access and people were saying, oh, should that be on the Game of the Year lists? And I was like, well, it ain't released, is it? It's in beta still. And that caused a ruckus between people in the group. But this is Minecraft, November 2011. And this is the one that Adcock has not played. And Adkins, to be honest, you wanted it struck off on a technicality. You wanted it struck off on the on the 2009 alpha build.
Yeah. But, called for its head.
Called for its head, but as you'd only had a cup of coffee with it, we cut you out of that one and barreled on through. I spent an awful lot of time with Minecraft over multiple generations and multiple platforms. I've played it on 360, I've played it on Xbox One, I've played it on PC. I've even had the Adkins cup of coffee on mobile with it. So I've had a little play around on that Pocket Edition. And I truly believe that Minecraft is a pioneer of the sandbox genre, if you will. And on the surface, it's a very simple game. You're just dumped into this world with no resources, and really at that point the only aim of the game is to just survive, because at night cometh the monsters and they'll put you in an early grave, and depending on what mode you've got it on, you can have permadeath switched on, or you can turn that off, or you can carry on and respawn. But really, once you've established your foothold in it, the only real limitations of the game is up to the player's own imagination and goal setting. There are bosses and like conventional tasks that you can kind of follow that are more in line with a traditional video game. You can jump online with your mates cooperatively, try and build Wakering, which is a project that me, Hall, Pee-wee and Logan tried many moons ago. A failed project because the staying power of that particular quartet wasn't there. So you can have your go and have your games in that process, or you can use the creative mode, which is like a free mode that lets you build to your heart's content without the video gamey aspects getting in the way. And I've seen people build a working computer that can do maths, a recreation of King's Landing in the game. There is so much stuff that people have built onto this game. And 2014, we had Mojang being purchased along with Minecraft by Microsoft for $2.5 billion. I can't believe that was in 2014. That seems like it was only a few years ago, but they've had it for nearly 6 years now. We've got Minecraft in schools for education purposes, and it's still going strong player-wise. It's been over 200 million sales, and the claim is there's 126 million players that are still playing every single month. And I think we look at the impact of games over the last decade, and within the gaming industry, but also outside. And I don't think there's a lot that can reasonably compete with Minecraft, in all honesty, when you look at what that's done inside the sort of hardcore bubble that we live in, and also people on the outside who maybe are casual gamers or not gamers at all. It really has made its imprint everywhere. Adkins, you had a cup of coffee with it. Do you have anything to say about Minecraft that you want to share?
So I bought it on. It must have been right when the original release, maybe back as far as 2011, probably. Yeah. I bought it on the 360.
Yeah.
I managed to get all the achievements. I don't think it was a very big achievement.
Oh, 1000 G'd it.
1000 G'd it. But I did play it for quite a while, if I remember. It was sort of, but there wasn't anything to it when I played it. It was just literally. I think I did mainly pick the sort of free modes, like where you have no things. All you had was just was it what, the creepers, was it? They used to come out? The skeletons?
And the skeletons, and yeah.
That's it. And that was it. There was no Ender Dragons or whatever they're called. And different realms.
Yeah.
You didn't have none of that when I first started. So that's why sort of it was good for a couple of weeks. Had a bit of fun with it and sort of put it down. But I always did think, like, I thought that this type of game it would be so good in an educational sense for children. I'm not saying it's a children's game, but I just think, like you say, the imagination, it's so good for giving kids that tool to do whatever they want. I'm not surprised that schools have picked it up and gone, right, here we go.
Yeah. Yes, that's insane, really. I'm sure there are other examples of that, but I'm struggling to think of when and where that may have taken place. But it's not just like people's creativity. There's things like the redstone, which is kind of used as circuitry almost. Like you can apply lessons and logic to work in that, and it's just a new fun way of presenting the game, I guess. And there's now it's spawned so many different versions of it. There is actually an educational version of it specifically made for schools, and that's crazy.
That's been pretty crazy. Sort of sitting, like taking a back seat from the game and moving on, but just watching it grow. Like you had the Telltale series, like just they even have their own convention now. Isn't it? Like Minecon?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable how big this is. You sort of forget. It's a show like this that you'll realise what a whopper it is, really.
Yeah,
I have not played. I'm just trying to find my stats. I don't think I can find them.
No.
I see when the last time I played. Oh, here it is.
Here we go.
I played it 2012. There you go.
There you go.
May 2012, and that was the last time I played it.
Over 8 years ago. Last time I switched Minecraft on.
There you go.
Adcock, you didn't actually play Minecraft, but obviously being involved in the industry as you are, as a guest on this very high-profile podcast, you would have seen the growth and the impact that Minecraft has made over the last decade, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a little knock around on mobile, so I don't know how watered down that version is. So, yeah.
I mean, one of the pluses of the game is that really it runs as well as on a mobile device as it would on a $2,000, PC, because it's the simplicity of it makes it kind of playable on nearly any sort of platform. I've even seen it run on a Raspberry Pi, which is like a homebrewed little shitter that's been put together. But sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, it's all right. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think what gets me with it, having not played it, is I've seen like my little nephews and nieces come up. They start with like Roblox or whatever, and then this is generally the next thing a few of them have all moved on to.
Yeah.
And so the fact that like 7-year-olds are playing this and loving it, but then you've got people probably in their like 50s and 60s, as you say, recreating the towns they live in and building computers and whatnot. Like, there's not many games that have that broad appeal, but also have proper game mechanics, wicked open world sandbox, like you said. It's uncomparable, really, isn't it? There's nothing else really like it or that's done it as well. And it's kind of like the best Nintendo game that's not a Nintendo game. It's got everyone. It should have been on the Wii, really, but they missed the boat massively.
It is crazy how many carbon copies of it there are now as well. You've got that Dragon Quest Builders, I think, was on the Switch, and it is just like another one of these. It's almost set its own genre.
Yeah,
like a Hideo Kojima.
Death Stranding of PC games.
Game of Strands, so the new Blockhead.
Yeah. It's not blessed with the best graphics in the world, we can all admit that, but it doesn't seem to put people
RTX
off.
4K now, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I've seen the RTX demos with the ray tracing. Looks fucking ace. So yeah, it's crazy. It's a massive game across the entire world and outside of the industry, casuals and hardcores alike, and I feel earns its spot proudly on the list. And it's one of the earlier games, the earliest game we've got in the decade, 2011. And I think it's good to have a game that's early in the generation and also a few that are towards the back end. So we'll see which 6 we come up with. But we're going to jump forward a couple of years to the summer of 2013. Some say the summer of love. Others say the summer of no hope, quarantine and infection rates, which we are almost dealing with now, ironically. But we were blessed with The Last of Us, Adkins. June 2013, like I said. take us away and why this is on our nomination list for Game of the Decade.
This was revolutionary.
Interesting.
Interesting. It blurred the line between films and gaming in my eyes.
Yeah.
I think it in immersion, in caring for characters, chuck away stories have always been labelled with some games.
Yeah.
Game, it's more about the gameplay. Who gives a shit about the story?
Yeah, ignore the B-level, B-film plot and just crack on with shooting people or whatever.
That's it. That's what, for the most of it. This is one... Probably Metal Gear Solid was the original, but this took that same sort of thing where it made you care about the characters, and it was just such a perfect cast of characters as well that there wasn't like a bad apple in there. Every character you came across was quite interesting.
Lots of shades of grey.
Very dark, horrible. It's funny because at that time as well, 2013, there was so much zombie. Like it was the rise of zombie games. You had bloody Dead Rising, Dead Island, the zombie COD games.
Yeah.
So people were sort of getting sick with zombies. This come out and you sort of first thought is it's just another bloody zombie game. But with the pedigree of Naughty Dog, who were lapping up things like Uncharted 2, which was like a critical acclaim.
Yeah, it
brought that sort of thing to it, and it was you just knew from watching that first E3 demo that this game was going to be something special. It mixed that incredible story that takes you on a journey for it's unbelievable. There's videos of just people playing the first sort of 20 minutes, like celebrities playing it in the first 20 minutes, and you just see the looks on their faces. I don't think a game has ever touched me. I mean that in an emotional sense. As much as this has, like in a lasting, it's like when you watch one of those films that it's like I suppose a bit of a tearjerker or something that connects with you.
Just like that Green Book, I tell you.
Something you when you put it down, you get to forget about it. But this sort of story and that sort of sits with you for weeks on end after, years after. And that's just the story. The combat is brilliant. It was your Naughty Dog pedigree of third-person action, but it brought in this sort of survival horror element as well, and invisible companions. So, it's so hard to fault this game, and I'm just sort of lost for words about how good it is, really.
Yeah, I mean the story and the narrative is excellent, and like you said, I think it was a bit of a moment where they said actually games now can't really they can, but they'll be penalised for passing the buck and doing a cheap story, because we've had this which blends great narrative and hard-nosed, tense, brutal, in-your-face gameplay, which comes together in a great package, and it does just have some sort of X factor. I mean, it's 7 years old now, and yet people are still talking about it, and that might be because of the impending release of the sequel. But I still think even without that, people will still be referring back to The Last of Us, and it just has just a bit of special sauce that is difficult to quantify in words. Mr. Adcock, you also have managed to be blessed enough to play through this game. Any quick thoughts you want to share on The Last of Us?
I mean, it's pretty much echoing you guys at this point. But yeah, I think like my favourite stories in games up until this point are all the ones that are a bit like open for interpretation. Less is more.
Yeah.
What's my favourite? Shadow of the Colossus and all of those weird Japanese. You don't know what's going on or inside. This is, as you've said already, this is everything's up there. There's nothing for interpretation. It's taking on like Hollywood and pretty much winning. Like it is, the characters are amazing. That the opening to this game, like the first 25 minutes, is some of my favourite openings in video games ever. characters, the two like leads are absolutely amazing. You really buy into their story. Some of like the situations they get you into, I love my like survival horror. I mean, it's not really survival horror, but just such good horror set pieces.
It's got a flavour of that in there, isn't it? Enough.
Yeah, man. Like they really, when you're in those tunnels and those dark places and those fucking clickers are roaring around, it's the worst thing in the world. It's so good. It's so good. I think you're going to focus on the story with this, and rightly so. And yeah, Naughty Dog have hit, because I've played the Uncharted games kind of in retrospect after I played this.
Oh, right. I bet there was a shocking tone shift.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and especially 4, like where they've really obviously tried to up their game. And Nathan Drake is a wicked character, and they've really tried. They do well to like bring that brother back in and try and get you on board like emotionally, but it just can't compete with this. This one just hits it out of the park in that respect. And that's why everyone's so up for this sequel that's coming out in just a couple of weeks now.
Yeah. No, it's certainly,
fantastic.
Certainly an excellent game, and one that will live long in many people's memory who played it. I actually didn't have a PS3 at the time when it came out. I borrowed it off of Reeves in the end, and played through it sort of within the first couple of weeks, which was handy. But imagine missing that. Imagine missing The Last of Us because you didn't have a PS3. That would have been a devastator.
Also one that brought out a DLC package months after or a year later?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't too far after, but yeah, it was Left Behind, wasn't it? The
that was it. Left Behind, and a lot of these games. There's some great games like Horizon and Spider-Man that they've both released DLC, and I've not touched it at all, to be honest.
Spider-Man's and Biff binned Horizon, but we can't trust Biff's opinion on most things. He bins everything.
No, true, but to carry on that pedigree, and to a lot of people rate the DLC as well. So it was just showing that they could consistently continue this pedigree charm.
Yeah,
and they churn it out some more. So give us some more.
Yeah, I can't remember who brought it up when we was all talking about this. Like, so when was rating these games, and yeah, it's probably one of my favourite DLC packs. Like, I think you pointed out, Joe, really good point. How they kind of fixed that thing of actually having the zombies and clickers mixed in with the humans and fighting each other. Yeah. Like, they didn't have that in the main game vanilla, but they've added it into the DLC. It was a nice touch, because I always remember thinking that was the one thing kind of missing.
It was great just pitting them off against each other and sort of thinning out the herd, and then whoever you was left with, it made it a far easier sort of room to go and clear, because you'd have half the the clickers or the infected had already ripped the humans to shreds, or they'd blown them away. So it was definitely a great little mechanic that they introduced to the DLC, and also filled in sort of a gap within the main game, which I thought was quite nice. There's a period of time where it skips, and it was nice to see what actually took place and went on. But yeah, Last of Us, fantastic game, June 2013. Next on our list is another 2013 release, which I am sure meant there was some very heated Game of the Year discussions just between these two games alone. It's Grand Theft Auto 5. It is the Juggernaut. Adcock, I'd like you to start here, because what I like about your perspective now is that you played through the campaign back in the day, maybe when it re-released on the PS4, I can't remember, but that was a few years back now. But recently you've been diving into the world of GTA Online, which is a part of GTA 5, with a bunch of pals, and that to me gives you an interesting perspective on really what a great package overall GTA 5 is.
Yeah, so I originally played this, just the campaign. I think probably it was on PS4, maybe late 2014.
Yeah.
And and then had a huge gap, and I've come back to it now, like Q1, Q2, 2020. Yeah, mate, this is amazing. I don't know where you even begin on this one. I mean, it is as close to a living, breathing world as you're ever going to get. Open world game. Yeah. I mean, they're so smart with how they do this. Everything looks like it's accessible, even though it's not. Like every house, every shop and whatnot. They do a great job of this. It still looks amazing. Like, I mean, for the size of it and the quality they've stamped all over it. The campaign, I mean, you've got 3 characters for the first time, or more than one for the first time, I should say, in a GTA. You've got Franklin, Trevor and Michael, all really good protagonists, super fun. Someone told me this recently. Apparently they're for the 3 different play styles. Like, you got Franklin, who, if you're the sort of guy who goes around buying everything and pimping everything up, you got Trevor if you want to go fucking batshit crazy. Don't know what Michael was now.
It's just sort of like the way I see it, the three perspectives is something I really enjoy because I sort of role played each of them almost to a T of what you've explained there. I used Trevor just if I wanted to go on a rampage, and I had no qualms about having him just murder people in cold blood. Franklin was sort of like, as you said, a bit of a baller. He used to go around spending all his money, buying nice clothes, buying all the nice cars, filling out his garage. He might steal the odd car now and again. He didn't mind getting his hands dirty. And with Michael, I tried to sort of... Part of one of the stories I'm trying to tell is that he's trying to get away from it all. He's kind of like semi-retired from the life of crime. So I was trying to be a law-abiding citizen as best I could with Michael day to day. But I personally really enjoyed having those three perspectives, and I thought that the fact that you could almost switch you could switch them at any point in the game meant you could do as much or as little as you'd like with each of them. And then when you switch back to another character, I'm sure it was a trick, but it always felt like they were doing something. You always caught them in the middle of doing something else, which was nice. It made it feel like they were just on the map roaring around, and you could make them meet up actually and run them over and stuff, which led to some funny things. But yeah, the free perspective thing definitely I thought was really well executed.
Yeah, man. So you've got that. You can just literally fire this game up for 15 minutes and cause absolute havoc. I mean, you've always been able to do that on GTA, but this is just as good as all the previous incarnations. The online, I mean, it could almost be its own separate game, really. Going back into this,
it will be one day. I'm sure it'll detach one day and be GTA Online. I can't see how it.
I remember seeing this a few years ago and thinking it looked mental. There was some flying cars and there was like racetracks in the sky, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" But once you actually get into it, and also, you sort of think, "What's the learning curve going to be?" The people have been playing this now for 7 years, like. Am I going to be left behind? But I've jumped on with 3 other mates. The heists are so much fun. Rather than feeling like you're just kind of wasting your night away, there's actual tick boxes to do and missions to complete, much like in the main campaign, but you're doing it with your friends. Yes. It's amazing. I've got into the racing side of things. I mean, I've not played Forza and stuff in ages, and I know this isn't that, but it's a pretty competent racer, and the races are really fun. And I think you said something. I think it was you said it. Basically, it's hard to look past that if you can only take one game with you to a desert island with an internet connection. Yeah. This arguably is the one that I would want. So this game is fantastic.
Yeah, I'd argue even without the internet connection, you could still play it, not just with the campaign characters and have a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I mean, it constantly appears in top selling of the month still.
Mate, it crashed the Epic Games Store. Who hasn't got it by now? It's unbelievable.
I know, who has not got this game, and yet it goes free on Epic, and crashed their storefront for hours and hours on end, even though there's a whole week for people to get it. It's madness, but to be honest, I was one of those people trying to get it because I wanted it on PC, so I've had it on 360, PS4, and now PC via Epic as well. Adkins, we were lucky or unlucky enough to do some heists together with Paper in tow, which caused some
of the best gaming moments of my life. That was.
I saw this.
They were funny nights. If you head over to our Twitch channel, which is Dimp Live, there are clips from our attempted heists where. It's nearly always Paper that's causing just me to have an aneurysm. I felt I was going to heart attack with him in tow because he's just a liability. But yeah, they were some extremely fun nights.
They were. It just shows the sort of breadth of this game. It's one of those games that anyone can play. I've got you guys. I consider the hardcore gamer friends. I've got friends like Yellow Boots, Nick Rowe. Yeah. They just play FIFA, the odd bit here. I've got Yellow Boots. That's all he plays with FIFA. He bought this game and completed it, and said it was the best thing he's ever played.
Well, yeah.
It's so versatile. The game is so well done that I literally got lost in Los Angeles on my honeymoon and managed to figure my way out by remembering where to go on GTA. I was up near the Hollywood Hills and I remembered how to get out and get down to the main fucking Walk of Fame thing.
Yeah.
Because of GTA 5.
Well, there you go. It's a mobile map as well. For people
it's just lost. Incredible. There's so much to do. There's so much to see. Echoing you can just go on for 15 minutes. There was nights when I'd just go on and I'd set a little game in my head. Just if I could break into this like military
fucking
thing and steal a jet, and that was I just all night. I'd just spend that just seeing if I can get away from 5 stars.
Yeah. It was crazy. Yeah, we online we spent hours doing that. Definitely. Yeah. There's no reward for it. It was just for the sake of it. It was just trying to get your car, launch it over the gate, sprint to the nearest jet without hopefully getting mowed down by the army, and then getting the jet out of there and causing absolute carnage. But they just keep adding and adding to the online aspect as well, which some people will see as a criticism because we never got our single player campaign DLC, which we had with GTA 4 and the likes of that. But the online package, from where it even started with no heists, they did not launch with heists, to where it is now, is insane. Like another one that's had a constant evolution throughout the decade, and something that I think that makes it a very strong candidate in this list.
I logged it the other day, and there's a fucking casino there now.
Oh, I've even been in there. I don't know if Adcock, you've gone to the casino yet, but
yeah, mate, I've walked around there often. Yeah, win a car, you win an apartment.
Heist in it, apparently.
Yeah, I feel like that's the final heist now. Is the casino heist?
Yeah.
Right. Incredible.
So it makes me want to go back on and do the heist now, but
it
seems like a long shot. The best thing I ever did in GTA, in any GTA game, was in GTA 5 and GTA Online. You can buy an apartment. I had a nice penthouse apartment. I was sort of flogging it. I invited Biff round, Logan round, Paper round, just to come around and have a little party, just to fuck about. Again, we spent hours just inside the apartment pissing around, and through my connections on the game, where I was sort of a bit of a ball, a bit of a player, I invited around one of the local strippers to give us sort of a private dance and whatnot. Got Biff sitting down in his little chair. Stripper comes over, gives him a little dance, quickly got a picture of it, put it on Facebook, and he's never been able to live that down. I think that's
just sent it to his wife.
Yes, really caused a rift within that relationship. But what other game other than GTA could you do that?
It's incredible.
Madness, absolute madness. 2015 is our next stop, and it is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Wow.
Now, what a great fucking game this is.
Yeah.
For me, this is the benchmark for action RPGs now. We talk about The Last of Us doing this with storytelling and whatnot in games. This is now this is the benchmark for action RPGs in terms of making sure everything that you put in that game is worth doing and worth playing. Like every quest you go on, there's no boring side quests, filler jobbies that plague RPGs in particular. Normally so much bloat to these big games, and this is a big game, but it's all worthwhile doing. And I like the fact that you take the role of Geralt, and he's Geralt, he has his own past, and this is the third entry of the series, which a lot of people won't be familiar with, but you've still got agency over him to deal with quests in a number of different ways, and they have short-term and long-term ramifications. Music is fucking ace as well. The world, or the environment, whatever you want to call it, is top drawer. The trees, they start bending and crackling as the wind picks up, then suddenly it's pissing down with rain. It's just such a great transition that makes the environment feel real almost. Like it's not just a map with weather effects slapped on top. Like it feels like the world transitions and cycles proper kind of weather and makes you feel the changes in those weather zones. And if you want more, after the dozens and dozens and dozens of hours that the base game offers, then it has, in my view, the best DLC expansion pass of any game. Like Blood and Wine is like a new game, offers you a completely new map, new story, characters to interact with. Hearts of Stone is like a great expansion on the base game, and together they combine themselves to about another 40 or 50 hours of content, all at the sort of high top level that The Witcher 3 has to offer. And also, those that know, but those that don't, they just don't. But Gwent is the bollocks. The card game Gwent is absolutely fantastic. Adkins, take us away. Any thoughts on The Witcher 3?
Incredible. As I said,
it gave us the term botchling, which we use in our film reviews. Yes, we now use the botchling.
It came out as well at a time where like Game of Thrones was peak,
Yes, yeah.
In everyone's interest. So everyone was loving that sort of action fantasy setting. And then Witcher 3 came out, and I just remember seeing the trailers and a bit of gameplay, and I just was sucked in at how good this game looked.
Yeah.
I skipped the first one, which is not normally the way of the Adkins way.
No, but that is almost unplayable, that first.
Yeah.
That bad.
Compare that now. What I've always said, I'd love to see number 1 in 3's engine. That would be brilliant.
Oh, yeah. Do them all.
But whipped through number 2 just to get a bit of backstory, and then, when playing through 3, as I said with The Last of Us being revolutionary with blurring the lines of story and that, this, like you said earlier, it made the side quests not arbitrary and used for leveling.
Yeah.
This was just like an expansion to the story when it was, you had your main quest. It didn't become main quest, side quest. They were just all quests that were interesting, incredible. Like the RPG meant the decisions and choices you could make, the options you really could just make your own Geralt. You could make him a grumpy, a comedic grumpy old bastard, or heroic. Possibilities were endless. You could make him wear what he wants. The combat, the combat was so satisfying. It's hard to fault this game at all. It's a lengthy one, which normally you turn your nose up at it, but not once. I think I played mine was quite a short playthrough. I think I played it for about 76 hours, which sounds ridiculous, but this type of game. But not 1 hour of this was I ever sitting there thinking, right, the ending must be coming up. I was happily satisfied throughout, and I was challenged. It was a nice challenge of a game. You just every time you pick it up, you sort of learn something new about it. You could just go into a town and just do whatever you wanted. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was a great game, and is still a great game to this day. Adcock, you have played this, but for your own self-admission, kind of felt like you didn't play it properly. You barreled through it as quickly as you could, but in that sort of whistle-stop tour of The Witcher, how did you find it? Did you still enjoy the sort of rapid speedrun playthrough that you put together on it?
Yeah, man, I love this game. It's so good. I just wish I'd had more time, and actually, I think I played it only last year.
Yeah. I
had a bunch of games around it. So, I probably played about, I barreled through it, probably still 45, 50 hours. Like, it's ridiculous. I thought I was near the end, and I think I was only 2/3 through the game. It's top heavy at that last stage. But considering I missed 1 and 2 as well, and obviously this, doesn't hold your hand with the story. You got to, listen and work out what's going on, and it throws you in the middle of things for sure. It's not like a hard reset.
No,
it does a great job of bringing it, a newbie on board, and it's pretty deep with the RPG systems and stuff. But I'm definitely not that way inclined, and you can kind of pick and choose how you play the game. And as you say, Gwent, I never even touched it. I had the first game, and then I didn't bother with any of those cards, and I'm probably missing out big time there. But
I spent fucking hours playing that. I was entering tournaments, collecting all the cards. I was doing all sorts, loving it.
And also, go on.
I was just going to say they actually brought out a separate game of Gwent.
Yeah, they spun it off into its own game, which is mad.
I think it was after we played it, and I was talking to you and was just discussing what we did. By the way, that botching is amazing. That was the first bit. I was like, fucking hell. Sort of tried to, I don't know what I did to him, but he fucking went apeshit and grew about 50 feet. But you remember when we were talking about that? I think he's the Bloody Baron or something.
Yeah.
And we were talking about his story thread, and I had no idea how different the outcomes can be. Because I think for you, he ended up topping himself, right?
Yeah, it was a sad day in my life when I come back and I found him hanging from the trees. Fucking hell, what have I done here to deserve this?
And for me, it was so different. And to think, mate, if I was a kid with not much money and someone bought me that, and you realise how different you can have a playthrough on that, it's so good. And you guys already said it, but story-wise, for an open world game, is absolutely, you've got almost Last of Us sort of storytelling, but in an open world. That's
really tough to do, to like stretch out a story
outrageous
for a game where you can just not be touching the main story for hours on end. It never feels like it's always there lurking, and you're always filled in and clued up with what's going on, and just the side quests always seem like just added supportive content that's just building your Geralt as a character. And
it'd probably give me the hardest choice in any game.
Cool.
Of just deciding who to stick a cock up. It was so hard to decide which one I wanted to give a good length into. I was like, I think I did both in the end, but I really paid a penalty for that.
Yeah.
But that is, no game will find a harder choice than that.
Yeah, it doesn't pull any punches. It's certainly an adult themed game, but I think that's what sort of us older gamers sometimes appreciate is a bit of a bit of grittiness and whatnot. But yeah,
which characters as well, like
Yennefer.
They've even made like a Netflix television show based off it. And
it ain't the fucking books it's caused that. I don't care what people say. No. They weren't making that show until the game come along and blew up. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah,
that was not happening. And I mean that's crazy. This now a TV show, which is also very good. Check it out if you haven't done so already. 2017, March 2017 is our penultimate stop on this little journey. We've got The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, a Switch launch title which was also available on the Wii U. So you could argue it's actually a Wii U port. In any case, we're not going to get bogged down in the technicalities. Adcock, out of the three that are sitting here doing this podcast, you're now Mr. Nintendo, and you actually played, if I'm not mistaken, Breath of the Wild on its native Wii U. So you tell us what makes Breath of the Wild so special, since you're here to defend Nintendo's honour.
Barren wasteland, mate. Nothing in it. I did play it on the Wii U. Yeah, I was probably one of the 7 people that had that console, and I was like, right, I'm going to send this off in style. And,
why not?
Bought myself a copy of Breath of the Wild. I mean, this is a great game. I remember first booting it up, the first 3 hours, the nostalgia, it was the first time for a Zelda they'd become always good quality, but quite form. I can't even say the word.
They followed a certain formula.
Exactly. Tried and tested by this point. It was always, get your free pendants, then the next bit of story opens up, then go and do 7 dungeons, and then get the final boss. It was very by the book at this point. Normally 2 different worlds. So this one felt different and felt exciting. I think the fact that the Switch has had some decent games since then, a lot, but this absolutely was the game they needed. And anything other than this, that could have been an absolute disaster for that console.
Yeah.
But this was the right game at the right time. It really seemed as well for a Zelda to kind of pick up the momentum. What was the one before that? Skyward Sword, maybe. It was a bit of a dud for a Zelda. And this one just kind of, the reviews started coming in, and it was 10 out of 10, 40 out of 40, 5 out of 5. I just remember it got me so hyped for it. And I think I was about 6 months late to the party.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit of an empty world, to be fair. But my biggest plus for this game is that of all the open world games I've played, this is probably the most true. The fact that you can do the first couple of things, so you get your little glider, and from there, if you know how and can do it, there's nothing stopping you going on and taking on Ganon within the first 45 minutes, hour, I don't know. I don't know if any other game does that. The whole thing is open to you. For a Zelda game, you've got all your abilities from the first couple of hours again, and then Hyrule's yours to go and explore. Not the most deep storyline, I'll give you that. But if you go and get those memories, it's quite nice, quite simple. I'd definitely recommend anyone who hasn't played it to do that bit, even if you have to. I had to Google them. It was ridiculous. Some of them are pretty obvious, but after that, it is insane. But all the sort of, nostalgic races and characters are there, but it doesn't really ram it home too much. It feels really new. You've got dynamic weather. You have to cook for yourself. You've got all those kind of RPG elements, but again, they're quite light, I guess, really.
The
the sword. I know what your Achilles heel with this game. The older weapons degrading at a rather rapid rate annoys some people, but very different for a Zelda game. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's probably most people's. I don't know if it is most people's favourite, but it's got to be in everyone's top 3 of a series that's one of the most iconic in video games. So this is a very, very, very good video game.
I don't think I've spent or played too many open world games and almost universally been rewarded for exploring. You just kind of go, I sort of would go somewhere and think, this has to be just a dead end of nothingness. And 9.5 times out of 10, there was something. There was either a weapon or a chest or a little Kurok seed, or there was a puzzle. There was just something there, almost around every corner. If you took the time to explore it. And I kind of done a playthrough where I did a sort of 50-50. I started off doing that, and then soon sort of went, right, let me get through all these fucking, what they call the divine beasts, and take this fucker down. But you could systematically just go to different areas of that game and find something. And if it wasn't something direct, you might even pick up a little journal that gives you a clue where some treasure is hidden. And it won't mark it on the on the map for you. It's up to you to know where the S-shaped river is and the waterfall that beckons off the sunset, and seek that out. So getting familiar with areas of the world and the map was not essential, but certainly added another string to Breath of the Wild's bow that a lot of games just don't do. They just chuck a waypoint on there, you go there, do what you need to do, and then you bugger off, and that's fine, and that's all well and good. But Breath of the Wild did something a lot different in that aspect, and the powers that you get, the abilities that you get, from the get-go, also give you lots of versatility in how to take down enemies, more than what I think anyone really, really appreciates. If you just look online at what you can do with those powers, it's insane with the physics and the engine they've put into place there. Adkins, this was a Switch launch title. I believe we both got the Switch either on launch or close to launch, and this was the first game we got. So this was the Switch seller for you. How did you find your experience with Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, I really loved it. I think building up to it as well. I played. I think Ocarina of Time was my first big Zelda game, and then leading up to this coming out, and after knowing I was going to be getting a Switch day one with this, played through Twilight Princess, which I really liked. So I was of that same as well. I knew that sort of style and almost structure of the game of a Zelda thing was coming. But yeah, it seems to have set a precedent in sort of rebooting. This was the first that I can think of where it sort of completely rebooted their franchise. And as a plus, a lot of people love the old games, and you'd think that there would have been a bit of a backlash to how much they've changed it. But when you see the sort of critic reviews and that, and you know how much this game is loved, and to be a launch title, normally when you look back at the PS4's launch titles, and you look at it like Killzone, Shadowfall, whatever it's called. For this, Knack. I mean, there's Knack, and this is your first game on the console, and it's absolutely phenomenal. The thing that blew my mind was, like you said, about the physics, and when there's what I love doing with some games is I watch videos on YouTube of like little hidden features of there's videos of Breath of the Wild, amazing features you may have missed.
Oh yeah.
And it's stuff like going up into the chilly cold mountains, and if you eat like a hot chili pepper, that'll keep you a little bit warm for a little while.
Yeah.
Cooking, like you say, the physics in this game, you can do so many cool things with it. Climbing up a mountain, you think, I can get up there, and then your fucking stamina bar kicks in, and you're like, nope.
Or it pisses down with fucking rain, so you can't climb up it, so you start slipping.
It is. It was incredibly lifelike in that way for a cartoon Zelda. It looked gorgeous as well, I must say.
Well, on that fucking handheld, I mean, it's impressive to get that in there and get it on the Wii U, really.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, which blew my mind. Obviously, not having access to EU, but that how big that open world was, and like Adcock said, you could go where and when you wanted, and to fit that into a little console you can take up and have a shit with, it absolutely incredible.
Yeah. The physics was definitely something that stood out for me. I remember there was very early on in my first playthrough, I was in the stage of I had a load of apples that I'd collected, and then I soon learned you could cook the apples and it gives you a little bit more health back. So I remember I gathered up you could carry like 4 or 5 apples in your hand at one time. So I found a bonfire, lit the bonfire, and I was like, right, got all my apples, and I thought, right, I'm going to plonk these down, cook them, put them in my inventory, and then I'm going to be quids in later on down the line. And literally, as I went to put them down, this gust of wind come along and blew all my apples just across the map, like off and down. I lost all of them, and I was like, fucking hell. But at the same point, I was really impressed that the game had even had that sort of level of physics programmed into it, that even just the wind, just a random gust of wind would blow my apples away, and I lost them. But yeah, it is a game where you think you know what you can do in that game until you, like you said, you look at the videos of stuff you would have missed. It's insane. Like I didn't shield surf. I didn't know you could do that. Fucking,
that's incredible.
You can surf down the mountains on your shield. So, Breath of the Wild certainly a great game and critically acclaimed, and yeah, on the Wii U as well. But that's what really kicked the Switch launch off for sure. A lot of people were getting one just for that. Our final stop, April 2018.
Ooh.
God of War, Kratos returns. Adkins, take us away with our
well, now
game.
I did just say about Breath of the Wild being a reboot.
Well,
now this could be king of the reboots.
Yeah.
I am and always have been a huge God of War fan since one. Loved the hack and slash, loved this brutal story, but I was always aware that Kratos was this one-dimensional angry bastard. Didn't have any sort of personality towards him.
I saw in one game, I think I may have even played through it, he put a woman in between a giant cog on the floor and just sort of let her get crushed.
That's it, yeah.
I thought, who is this Kratos and why should I care about this old fuck who's just destroying people?
He's got to be one of the most barbaric characters in gaming. Like literally, he's got like I think it was 4 or 5 games just of his revenge.
Yes.
That is literally all the games are. It's just his pure revenge, and they're making each one more brutal as it was. I fucking love those games, and then this one came along. And the love increased even further because, yeah, like I say, this is the king of the reboots. It was taking that franchise and just giving it the sort of... It's like The Last of Us love. It gives you that story. As I say, he's a one-dimensional character. It gave Kratos a personality.
Yeah.
It pipped him into a situation you would never, ever dream of putting him in becoming a father, and sending him on this journey, a simple journey as well, you know, in terms of story-wise. This is a simple story, but the game is about the journey of getting from that A to B.
Yeah.
And gameplay-wise, it has some of the best combat in... It's sort of a hybrid of hack and slash. It still has that nostalgic element, but it's more sort of modernized for like people of all. It's the type of game where anyone can play as well. You don't have to be someone like me who's obsessed with the lore and knows it. You can come in straight from this one and you will see what this game is about and understand why it's so good. And one thing that I have to point out is that I think it's the first game to do it, but the game to be shot in one consecutive cut almost. Obviously, I'm sure it wasn't, but you know the way they've made the game.
No camera cuts,
no camera cuts whatsoever. No loading screens going into different realms, whatnot. It is truly sensational, but yeah, that Leviathan axe, being able to taking Kratos' signature weapons away and giving him a brand new one, that was a bold and risky move, and it absolutely paid off because it's now given him one of the best tools in gaming, I'd say. Yes, it's a fantastic game. Brilliant.
Very few things feel better than chucking that axe through 3 enemies and it just sort of burying itself into a tree in the distance, smashing and cracking some skulls of a few enemies, and then recalling the axe, much like Thor's hammer, and watching it come all the way back through, and then just as a little cherry on the top, just slicing an enemy as it comes through and taking them down. Like, there's very few action parts of a game that are more satisfying than that. I think I read somewhere that you can drop the axe from like one side of the map, and it won't disappear or teleport. It will stay there until you recall it and take the time that it would normally obviously it probably clips through the environment and whatnot, but it still stays there if you're on the other side of the fucking map and will eventually get back into your hand. But there's some real good technical bits and pieces into the game. Had some interesting moments in it in terms of little bits of like Metroidvania. I'm thinking about that big lake and how you open up new areas to go. Had obviously main quest, there was side quests to be going on,
which was the first for the series.
Didn't have any of that before. And for me personally, this is a little bit of a redemption story, seeing it make the top 6 and being with a shout of winning this thing, because in our historic Dimp Digital Game of the Year awards in 2018, this was beaten out by Red Dead Redemption 2 in a controversial by the numbers vote by the entire team, and that was simply down to people just playing Red Dead 2 more. But I honestly think that this is one of the best action games out there, and it has a narrative that's mature, good, as you said, completely redefines a one-dimensional character into a fully fledged 3D. He's a father, damn it, now. He's got feelings. And pound for pound, if you strip back what a video game is, I think this is perhaps the best of the lot. Like, just in terms of just pure video game sense, it kind of just hits every marker that you would want out of a modern video game, and goes, yep, we've got that, and we've done it better than most. So
the set pieces in this game were some mind blowing. Like the first encounter with an enemy, like a semi boss or whatever you want to call it. But just that first fight, I still watch that back on YouTube, and it just blows my mind how seamless it goes from cutscene into combat, and then back into cutscene, and just how incredible the experience is. It's really one of a kind.
Adcock, you also had the pleasure of steaming through God of War. Any further positive thoughts that you want to loud onto the 2018 edition of the game?
Crimey, you guys have covered this well, but I would say similarly, going a bit different to you, 2 of my favourite boss battles ever. The first one with the guy who turns out to be like the main antagonist, amazing, and then one middle way through, big dragon, that's absolutely fucking breathtaking. I don't think you spoke about this. I'll go with this. Companion, like your son in it, is actually, one of the criticisms of Last of Us is invisible companions like bumping into things and not causing any like hindrance to you, taking you out of the immersion. This kid is actually really good. He's like a competent fighter, actually can help you out with those like arrows and whatnot. He makes sense in the story. He's like deciphering the language because he's grown up in that world, and Kratos is as thick as 2 planks struggling with the basics. And like their relationship's really good. It's actually quite funny. I don't know who the actor is or the name of the actual character now, but that like head that follows you around is fucking brilliant, really. Like it really adds to it. Story is brilliant, and really then only what you guys have already said, like as an action game, it's unrivaled, really. That axe is fucking amazing.
That little head follow that he sort of clips onto his belt. I've forgotten his bloody name, but he's bloody hilarious. And what's good is that when you're driving or rowing around the lake, he then will suddenly start a story about the lore of the world. So not only have you got Kratos' son, reading off things and the bits and pieces you find deciphering, but you've got him there telling you about all the characters that you've heard of, that you're hearing in cutscenes, that you're being mentioned, and giving you a bit of backstory on them. And the real cherry on top is that if you before he's finished the story, if you then get to a point where you want to shoreline and sort of go out and explore the world, he will stop and say, okay, time to get on with business, and save the sort of conversation there. When you then return to the boat, he'll pick up where he left off and be like, oh, where did I get to? Oh, it was here. And then continue the story. So normally that will trip a dialogue, a complete story and dialogue session to be lost in most games. Like if you move too far forward too quickly, you just never hear that line of dialogue. But here they knew that people might just be going quickly from A to B and would save the progress of that conversation, that story. And then when you got back in the boat, you would have it finished off. So
man like Mimir.
That's him. Oh.
Mimir, incredible. I've seen tattoos of him. I think I want to get one just of him because he's fucking incredible.
He is amazing. Well, that's our candidates or nominees for Game of the Decade, and that is our 6 games of the decade. That's now undisputed. They're locked in. Now, just give a short transition break where we break away, do some quick personal favourite games, because I think some of these games that are favourites on here, obviously, but there's also a lot of games that perhaps we maybe didn't like as much as what the other people did or whatnot. It was a group effort to put this list together. So we'll take a little break with that before we reveal the overall winner. I'm going to kick off with my 6, and it's got 3 of the games that we've mentioned. So we've got GTA 5, The Witcher 3, and then this was tough, but God of War made it, and it beat out The Last of Us, knocked it out of the rankings.
Jesus.
And then the other 3 were replaced with absolute personal picks, favourites of mine. Mass Effect 2, which is the best of the series, like excellent RPG and great story, great dialogue choices. That's just a great series altogether. That's the end of Mass Effect. It's brilliant. The Walking Dead, Telltale's breakthrough game that came out in 2012. I mean, we talk about narratives in games, we talk about decision making. That puts you through the ringer, that game, emotionally. Like, I remember Biff used to play it on the way to work on his phone, another game that's versatile. He played on his phone, and he said he'd get to work and feel like he'd already done a day's work after playing an episode of The Walking Dead, because it was just a stressful experience, and there's never a right choice in that game, but that was great. And then one of my favourites, controversial, but I'll always say it's one of my favourites, and that's The Last Guardian. I bloody love that game. Little Trico. You talk about the emotional moments, that's the one that got me, so there's no way that's never going to make it onto my personal top 6. So yeah, that's my 6. Mass Effect 2, GTA 5, The Last Guardian, The Walking Dead, The Witcher 3, and God of War. Adkins, take us away with your 6.
Cool.
It's the same 6 as we've just spoken about. Next.
It is pretty much, but there is one I wanted to add on to it because I can't remember my bloody 6. I'd go with my top 3 was definitely Last of Us. GTA 5 just pips above God of War for me.
Yeah.
So I've got those in my top 3. I'd go Witcher 3 on top of that.
Yeah.
I'd then probably go Red Dead Redemption 2. I know it's similar to GTA 5 in terms of its type of game and
great game. Spent 100 hours in that world with no online.
And there's one for me as well that I don't think we give this a mention. Maybe it was a little bit, but it's certainly one of my still favourite games, and that's BioShock Infinite.
Cool. Don't let Biffy say that. He fucking hates that game. I love it as well. Game. I think that's a great game. I think that's really good.
And I thought it was earlier than 2010, but it is 2013. So
Christ.
I think I give special love to that game. Some great characters and
that was a change in direction, wasn't it? Because it
was. Yeah. After 1 and 2, I like 1 is still one of my favourite games ever.
Yeah.
And 3, I just thought the story was. It was one of those games where, like Adcock said, where you could you had room for interpretation and stuff. And it was an incredible. It just looks so amazing, that world. So I'm going to stick that on my list.
Lovely jubbly, Mr. Adcock. Give us your personal 6.
Yeah, so I've got 3 that we've already spoke about. Last of Us, GTA, Breath of the Wild.
Done.
And then my add-ons, I've got Street Fighter 4. I love my one-on-one fighters, and this is probably my favourite. It's probably pound for pound. I've enjoyed it more than I did the original Street Fighter 2 back in the day. Yeah. Playing online is so much fun. You mean like of the updates, or?
Yeah, there's about 400. Arcade edition, Super Arcade edition.
Just vanilla, whatever first come out is the one I played most. But yeah, so like compared to 5, like where you had to unlock everything, 4 had everything there from day one.
Yeah,
like so much fun. All the updates they did were like good. I missed a few Street Fighter iterations between this. I didn't play 3. Didn't play some of the alpha games, so it'd been a while. I fucking love this game. Bloodborne. Hard pressed between like of the Soulsborne's games, but I think Bloodborne, it was the first one I played, and it was the most modern at the time. And I think like the combat in that game, the atmosphere, the bosses, the
setting in that game.
It's incredible. It still looked great, even though I played it like 3 years after it came out.
Yeah.
And nothing would beat the feeling of getting past some of those bastard hard bosses. it's unrivaled in gaming, those things. So, love Bloodborne. Last one you've already spoke about, Walking Dead. You put me onto this, and to be honest, I've not really played many of those other games.
It peaked
in the series. I played the second one and I really just didn't enjoy it as much. But that first one, man, like, as you say, I'm a bit of a cold bastard, but I think that nearly had me in tears at the end of that game. It was so good. Wiping out Duck, no problem, little shit. He had to go. But that game is incredible. So they're my 6. I would just like to throw, because I don't think this is cheating because it's not even a game, but the game that I'd really like to play that never was a game, PT. I wish that had got done, because I fucking love that playable demo. It's amazing.
So annoying. I've still got that in my library on thing, but you can't download it because
there's people that sell PS4s with it pre-installed already, and they go for silly money. Like,
I've still got it, man.
Oh, mate, keep hold of that and then put it on auction. You'll make thousands, I reckon. Well, not thousands, but yeah. What a moment in gaming that was, because that was just shadow dropped randomly.
Yeah.
No one knew what it was. No one knew what it was to do with. PT, what the fuck's that? You know, it turned out to be a playable teaser for Silent Hills. I mean, the game that never was, but I mean, that was just insane marketing wise, and that's a terrifying game, to be honest. And it's not even that long, but it's not a nice experience to go through, I'd say. Here we go.
Dimp Digital's first ever video.
Yes, it was. It was Dimp Digital.
Launched off the back of that,
yeah. A little walkthrough on how to get the ending, because it was actually a fucking, as Kojima, as we know, he likes to do sometimes, it was a fucking rigmarole to get the ending, and you never knew when that mad slapper was going to jump out and jump on your face, so I was always constantly uneasy, even recording that, knowing what to do. I still don't know if people knew exactly the steps that you had to take to do that. It was just you had to do these certain things, and sometimes it would trigger it. But it's crazy. That was, for what it was, incredible. This madness. And I think on Dreams there are there's remakes and reiterations of that have tried to sort of keep it alive. So I'll definitely be checking those out. But we did mention at the start that we're going to have to make the difficult decision to give an outright winner. Now, as I said, I can wake up tomorrow and select any of these 6. I really could. That's not even hyperbole there. But in the interest of there having to be a winner, we are going to reveal the official Dimp Digital Game of the Decade for 2010 to 2019 here on Idle Game Chat. Adkins, I'm going to give you the honour of revealing what our Game of the Decade is. So do you want to take it away, please?
Drum roll. It's Destiny. No, it's not Destiny. That's an inside joke. It is, of course, the sensational The Last of Us.
Oh.
Boom ting.
Yeah, it is The Last of Us. I mean, like I said, there's no real reason for it to be that. I think, as I said, the case can be made for any of the 6. There's just something about The Last of Us, though, that has that little X factor, whether it's story, gameplay, or just a mixture of it all. But it will long live in the memory. And I don't think anyone would complain with any of the 6, but you're certainly not going to see many complaints for people seeing The Last of Us on top of the list. But that's what we've collectively come up with, the blend of narrative and gameplay and cinematic storytelling, really digging into characters and giving them proper depth. And another thing for it, which we didn't mention, brand spanking new IP.
Yeah.
It didn't have any base to go off. It just picked up and created its own world off the back of just this one game, and just off The Last of Us alone, it feels already like an expansive universe.
Yeah.
I think that's something to call out that
incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was why they had the success of Uncharted 2, and then the Naughty Dog was split into 2 teams.
Yeah.
One went off to do Uncharted 3, and then this small team went off and done The Last of Us, and now they're, the leader, the co-leader of The Last of Us is now the head of the company, the director.
Oh, Druckmann.
And he's now taken over Uncharted 4, and he's now on his sequel. So incredible work, truly deserved. This will be tweeted at him, and he will read it. And he will like it.
He'll like it. No matter, he better do anyway, because it's we paid him a lot of money.
I can say we've all paid for the game, so come on, just a little like. That's all we need.
Come on, Druckers, pull it out the bag, get us on the map, get us those fucking patrons.
Yeah.
Actually, he can send some money our way. Then it sort of becomes like he's funded it and he's cheated it. But we're open to corruption here. So we'll take any.
If this podcast had come out a few weeks ago, someone could have said to him, "Got some good news and some bad news. Your game's been leaked." But the good news is didn't like you, so that's just good news and irrelevant news, though, isn't it? Wow. Game of the year, game of the decade, considered good news. So
incredible achievement.
Any final words from you, Mr. Adcock?
Looking forward to the sequel, mate. Cannot wait.
Yep. But I think, the sequel's right around the corner, and without the incredible work done in the first game, then the hype would not be as high as it was. It was a swan song for the PS3, and now it's in all likelihood going to be battling with Ghost of Tsushima to be the swan song for the PS4. So The Last of Us certainly has a special place in the world of gaming, and is Dimp Digital's official game of the decade for 2010 through 2019, as revealed here on Idle Game Chat. But as I said, our games of the decade will forever live on as well in Minecraft, GTA 5, The Witcher 3, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, God of War, and of course The Last of Us. So that's that. Our Dimp Digital Game of the Decade has been revealed. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you here next Monday for some more Idle Game Chat. So nothing more for us to say apart from thanks for your time, and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.